Hi, here we are again to talk a little more about this weather app and checking for our response codes, right? Um, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit. I've already actually added the code here, but I'm going to go over it again right now. So, you could print a message out to yourself and, print the status code. So we've got the status code in the last step where, it's going to tell us what the code is for the weather status or the JSON response, right? That's different from the regular HTTP response, okay, that we had up here. So if you like, you can check that with a print statement. And, after the if statement here, where we kind of get the code and maybe convert it from a string if it ends up being a string, right? What we're going to do is we're going to look at the status code. And so after this, we should have a status code that's either 200, we know everything's okay, or 404, it could not find the city that we asked for, right? So what we'll do is we'll say if status equals 200, then we know everything's okay, right? Else, if status is 404, then, city not found. Okay? And then if there's another code, and I kind of poked around on the Open Weather Map site and I couldn't find a list of possible values for this, and they mark this one as, internal parameters, so they don't really tell us much about it. But if there's another problem, then, some other problem here, right? We don't know what it is, right? But something else happened here. Okay, so, essentially what we want to do is we want to take everything that we did before that was below, after this, let JSON equal JSON data, right? So after this, what we had in the last video where we finished up all the, or a couple videos ago where we finished up the weather app, right? We want to take all that code and essentially just put it inside here, okay? So I'm going to go get that. So our first step was to, collect all of the values from the JSON string. So the temperature and the pressure and the, this min temp and max temp doesn't really, only works if you do a multi forecast on the single forecast current weather. It doesn't mean anything, but I included it anyway. But so we want to get all this. What I'll do is I'll just cut that out of there and I'll move it over here, right? So we'll paste it here, right? And then the next thing we want to do is we want to make the new weather object, okay? So I'll cut that out here. So here I'm making a new instance of our weather struct that has all of these properties, right? Oops, oh wait, I closed that by accident. Hold on, let me open that up again. Okay, so I've got my weather struct there, right? And then what we want to do is we want to do this little block here, which is where we check our delegate, make sure that the delegate is set, and then use dispatch async to get back to the main thread, because this code here is running in a block that's actually on a second thread because it's running asynchronously, to what the main program is doing. So we need to include that code here, okay? And then that's pretty much it, right? That's everything that we did before, right? And we've got the self.delegate, set weather, right? And that's going to pass the weather object on, and then our other view controller file can use its set weather method to display this data in the text labels and things like that, right? Okay, so what do we do if there's an error, right? Well, if there's an error, what I want to do is essentially the same thing that I did here, right? Except I don't want to call set weather, right? Instead, I'm going to say self.delegate weather error with message. And that was that new protocol method that we added a couple of videos ago, right? So I added this function weather error with message string, right, to our weather service delegate protocol. And this allows us to pass a message on to our delegate if something happens, right? So what I did is I'm just going to take this code here, and since we're still on the, on an off thread, we need to use dispatch async to get back to the main thread, right? And then we'll just call this error message or weather error with message, right? And then you can type a message string in here. So I'll say, city not found, right? Okay. And if there's another error of some other kind, if we can figure out what the other error codes are, we can check for those too. But if there's, if there's another error here, maybe I'll just paste that here, and we'll call, I just copied this same block here, this if statement with self.delegate, right? I'm just going to paste it here, and then I'm going to call, dispatch async to get back to the main thread, do all the same stuff, and then we'll call weather error with message again. And this time we'll make the message something else. So we'll say, how about, something went wrong. We don't know what, right? Right, so we'll just say something went wrong. So there we go, right? And then this is what I just did down here. So, I can actually get rid of all this stuff. I don't need this anymore. So let's just delete that, right? And there we go. Okay. So, so again, when we call weather error with message, right, on the delegate, then we should be back here in, view controller, and we're in our weather service delegate methods. And then this method here, weather error with message, receives the message, and then we created an alert box that's going to display that error message. So, if we test now, we should see, let's see here, yeah, so here's our city, and if we ask for a city that doesn't exist, it usually, if I type in anything here, it usually finds a city. So if I type in U, and then click OK, it actually finds light rain in Huru, right? It's really pretty funny the way it'll just find any city name. The only one that really seems to throw it in when I've been testing is if I leave this blank. So if I leave it blank and I click OK, then I get the error. And what's happening here is it's giving me this 404. So weather service delegate is, calling weather error with message in view controller here through the delegate protocol, right? And then it's passing the city not found message that we created, right? And then this function here, generates the alert box, and it takes the message and prints it right there, right? And then you can just click OK, and maybe you can type in another city. Let's type in, what if we type in GUG? Oh, I don't know, right? So it found that city too. So I don't know. It's pretty smart about finding cities. We'll talk about rounding these numbers off in another video too, because we want to do that. But anyway, I hope that's helpful, and hopefully that'll make your app a little more reliable and more robust, okay? And feel free to modify this, you can build on this. I think there's a lot more that you can do with it, okay? So again, thanks for watching.